to have them all be really very much Adobe controlled. And some of that technology has been released as far as the patents on that. And so that's allowed some third-party creations, which has been really great for Bluebeam. But sometimes the formatting is a little different. So it might give you a little bit of a challenge once in a while. But yeah, that Control F with the selection set can help. Someone's going to say something there. Yep. All right, Paul, you got your question now?
Yeah. So there weren't super big questions, but one, I was just curious. You had an announcement, I think it was like today or yesterday, talking about terms and names for like wall framing elements. Like I remember studying that last semester with framing systems, but I was just curious if like you would recommend any specific sources to look into to view that, because like I remember some of it, but not like everything.
Get all those terms. Yeah, I wish there was a set source. Even in the United States, it's regional. And so what you learn on the West Coast will not match the East Coast. And a lot of that's tradition as well. So I grew up calling the trimmer a jack stud my entire life. And it's a trimmer now. We took the word jack out because I don't know why. And then so we got the cripples, and cripples for a while were called jack studs, and now they're not. So, but now cripples is kind of up for debate because that could be offensive. So I don't know what we're going to call them. They're just pieces of stud. But then stud could be offensive to somebody. So I really don't know what we call them. So to say there's one source of labeling lumber, it'd be really tough. You'd have to, it's really kind of work specific and region specific on those.
Okay.
But the ones for the course would be right in that announcement there.
Okay. The only other question was, so I took BIM 1 last semester, and so with regards to Revit, I had a problem where it wouldn't download. I don't know, Revit 2021 wouldn't like upload, but I did have 2020.
Okay.
Is that all right to use for this course?
Oh yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, the files in the course are actually Revit 2018. So you'll just have to update them. Yeah, we usually try and go back a few versions for that very reason. So if you probably didn't have enough room if you had both on your system. Revit's a pretty big program, and rarely can you fit two different versions on one machine.
Yeah, I mean my laptop is very like, yeah, it shouldn't have a problem with that. It just, I don't know, for some reason it wouldn't work. I like went in for like the TAs and everything, but I couldn't get it fixed.
Yeah, in the announcement, there's a way to fix. You can go ahead and fix the download. So if you can get it to open up partially, you can go and do a repair, and that will usually fix most things. I've done repairs quite often.
Okay, so I might try that and maybe
see if just kind of go through this. I think for the next semester, I'm going to try to put all the Revit help in one post because everybody comes with something a little bit different. So
yeah,
kind of fun. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That's the question I had for now, at least.
Excellent. That's good. Let's see who. We get back to my big screen here. We'll bounce forward. Let's see, Dylan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there today. It's almost one more day to Friday. That's always a good thing.
Almost the weekend.
Almost the weekend. Looks like you've had a long day too.
Yes, I just got back from work.
That's a good thing. I'm just getting started for round 2. So here we go.
Right on.
Yeah. So what can I do for you?
I guess my only questions I have right now are on that mastery assignment. I've been working on that for the past year or two.
That spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is, if you go through the Rexburg city ordinances, that's what you're asking to do, is just find where the references are. You won't get all of them, but to do the best that you can on those. You just want to have some kind of reference in each of the cells. So we're pretty generous on the chapter and verse, so to speak, on that. So for instance, if it talks about the insulating factor, or you want to just make sure you've got the insulation referenced as to how much insulation is required in the walls, what's needed in the basement for the envelope, what are those general requirements on there. So, and again,
Okay.
for those of you who are doing that assignment right now, every city's residential requirements are slightly different. And so that's why we're picking just Rexburg. If you do an internet search for those, you're gonna get 100 different choices on that. So,
Gotcha. I guess one specific question I would have is I'm on the one that asks about I guess the load bearing walls.
okay. Is that on the
Um,
spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
It's line 27. Anyways, my question is, it says enter allowable sizes and spacing of wood studs. So do I type in every single size of stud and spacing that's available, or do I just do one?
Just what you want to do in there is get enough that it's understandable. So if you have the reference, so it's gonna give you a section and a paragraph, and this kind of give a general idea that if you're doing 2x4s, those are gonna have to be at 60 inches on center. But if you do a 2x6, you can go up to 24 inches on center. And so
Yeah.
it's just so you understand that difference of that changing out. You could go crazy if you start listening every dimensional lumber on there. So usually it's just
Okay, yeah.
2x4s and 2x6s are
Okay.
interchangeable mounts, and that's sufficient on that.
Perfect. I think that's my question. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one because not everybody realizes that you can interchange those members. And as the codes are getting more and more restrictive, which is yay, we'll probably be moving more and more to 2x6 exterior as a standard, and then 2x4 interior partition walls. I just dropped my resin. So yeah, so kind of watch for that as the code changes. Some things I've seen are even like roof overhangs are being diminished, and cantilevers are being diminished mainly for wind uptake. So things are changing residentially, and especially on this newest code. Kind of fun.
Perfect. Yeah, that's
Keep-
the times they are changing. So
Yeah, we'll be living bunkers here before the second coming, so that'd be cool.
yeah.
Getting closer. Let's see who's next on this. Let's go Colton.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Great. I guess the only really question I had, I emailed you yesterday about it.
Did I answer you?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
didn't know if you had the chance to look at it. It was about that quiz, the plan reading part
Oh,
2.
yeah.
quiz.
Okay. Yeah. So let me go back and pull that. So I remember what I started to say. I get about 200 emails a day between BYU and my regular job. And
Yeah.
so it gets a little muddled once in a while.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd maybe ask
so-
about it.
Yeah, and especially when they come through Canvas, because Canvas doesn't put a thread. I just get a response, and I have to go back into my email and find out what I was talking about, which is a little. It takes a little bit while that way, so that's
a
always
little tedious.
fun. That's why I keep putting out. Use the email; it's a little easier, and but that's okay. We've got bigger issues in the world than my convenience. Okay, so find the original. Oh yeah, on that. Oh yeah, I thought I got that fixed. That'll be fixed tonight. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So to give you guys an idea what Colton's talking about, when a due date comes, that kind of then the grades go in, and then anything after the due date, it gets graded as being late. And you can always do late work, but there's that penalty that kicks in. And so now it's officially out there. You want to make sure you try and get things done by the due date. And here's the rationale behind that since we're in construction. If you miss a bid opening by 1 second, you don't get the job. You have to be on time for bid opening. And anybody that's done any construction, you've been through that. I've watched 30-year-old men cry outside the door as I turn the key and lock it to end the bid timing. And it was just like they got stuck by a train. I mean, that was something that happens, but there usually is never an allowance for anything on a bid opening. It is set by policy and law, and you want to make sure you are there on time. So the whole point of the late work issue is to try and instill upon you the importance of submitting things on time. The other issue that kind of hurts that a little bit, and this is mainly for those of you coming out of Pathway, for some reason, someone has told you not to adjust your calendars and times in Canvas. You really need to do that. Everything in the course is based on Rexburg, Idaho time. So the open lab hours, the due dates, the when things open, everything is based on Rexburg time. So you can modify that date and time as many times as you want. So you can turn it on, turn it off. Those instructions are also in the announcements from week 1 and then week 2 again. You really need to watch the due dates. So this is mainly to those of you who are on the Eastern Hemisphere. That's been kind of the big, if you're on the, yeah, that's kind of the rough one. So kind of keep that in mind as you're working there. So yeah, just so you guys know, there's 16 time zones in the course this semester. My first email is at 2 a.m. and my last one is at midnight. And that's a lot of email. And I got to sleep somewhere and do my other work that pays for the mortgage. So give me a little break. So I appreciate that. It's a little frazzled. Fridays are great, but yeah, it's a lot of email. And a lot of it is right now. It is midnight in Ghana, and I feel for you guys. I'm trying to find another open lab for that part of the world. We've got a TA for each class now, and so there should be some more open labs and more TA help for meeting that. I am working on getting a Friday daytime open lab that I'll do to try and accommodate some of that. But again, if you don't get your syncing up with the time zones, you're gonna miss it. So, all right, there's my little soapbox. I feel so much better. Whew. And just so you know, I only get 4 hours of sleep a night anyway. So, all righty. Any others, Colton? We get you taken care of?
Yeah, thank you. That was it.
That and then some. All right, Umberto, you're up.
Thank you. Okay, my question is about, also I was doing the quizzes yesterday, and I had a lot of like struggle with the terms of floor framing plans and from the roof framing
framing?
plans. Yeah, the terms
Okay.
are like really similar, and
Oh,
actually
of course
I'm
they
not.
are. Things like joists, rafters, and trusses, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I think Paul talked about it, or I don't know who asked about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I work in the construction here in Mexico, but I'm not related with anything of framing with USA. So
Yeah.
it's really hard. I had to search all the pictures in
Yeah. So
Google to understand, but sometimes it's the same thing. It's actually the same picture for G joist and
yeah.
a lot of terms.
Okay,
Ring
so-
joist. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know if there's an easy way to answer all that. So I'm gonna try and verbalize it because to pull up pictures would take me the whole hour. So here's
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
simple thing. If it's a truss, it's generally been the shape of a triangle. All pre-built, put together in triangular shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And those usually apply to the roof. There is an exception to that, is that there's a flat truss that can be used for floor joists. Oh my gosh, it is kind of confusing.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm not trying to understand
Oh, you are
everything right
absolutely
now,
right.
but I'm
Yeah.
trying use asking you if you know of like a source, a resource that I can go
and
and
get all
look
those terms.
yeah, and see pictures and stuff like that to become more
Yeah, tell you what,
related. Yeah. Yes,
it's
sir.
yeah, I'm gonna put together a visual dictionary, I guess, for the framing parts. So I'll do the parts of the wall. I'll do floor members and roof members and kind of give some pictures of each. Because we do have a situation where we can do engineered lumber, and engineered lumber can be used as both flooring and as roofing.
Mhm.
Dimensional lumber can be flooring and roof rafters, and that's your 2x12s, 2x14s. You do have the trusses that can be flat trusses used in floor joists or roofing. And then we have our regular trusses, which are always just roofing. And then we can do the overframing, which makes it all that much different. So yes, there's a lot of interchangeability, and the definition is really how it's applied. So that's where it gets tricky. It's just how it's applied. So in English, we have a couple of words are like that. So the color red is RED. To read a book is READ, and to have read a book is READ. So the context, the past and present is the same spelling, because we don't have masculine and feminine, and now we don't have gender either. So yay world. So we just make it really confusing. There's my soapbox. So yeah, I'll put together a visual dictionary. I'll put that
Thank you
in
so much.
another announcement so you can get it, and we'll put that up there. So,
Thank you. I'll appreciate it.
no
Appreciate it.
problem. It'll take, you'll probably have it by 8 o'clock tonight. So about 2 hours.
Don't worry if you getting more light. It's okay.
Oh no. Yeah, who sleeps? That's what that's for.
Yeah. Who sleeps, right?
Yeah, who sleeps? Okay, any others?
Thank you. No, just
Nope,
that.
just 2
Thank
hours
you.
of work. Good deal. All righty. Let's see. Let's go, Taryn.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Okay,
Love
The
the
only-
teddy bear, man.
thanks. The only thing I kind of struggled with on this one was when it came to the electrical plans. And I was
Okay.
wondering if, well, two questions. The first part is, I know sometimes they can, depending on who the contractor is or who does they can change symbols and everything. But is there a universal for when it comes to electrical?
I'd love to say yes to universal. I will say regional. The thing that gets left off a lot and the thing gets messed up is the single pole versus three-way switches.
Right.
Lazy designers forget to put the little 3 by the S. And some even lazier ones will use a $sign instead. So a single pole switch should be an S with a single line, and then a 3-way, which means the switch
Mhm.
can be, or the light can be operated from 2 locations, has a 3 on it. And then what is missing on most of the current plans out there today is between, if you have 2 3-ways, then all the other switches have to be 4-ways. If you have like 3 switch locations, then there has to be a 4-way in there. So that gets to be a little tricky, and I'm getting a little bit of a buzz back on my server here. So,
That's
so
all right.
yeah, and other than that, the outlets usually stay pretty correct. An outlet should be an 1/8 of an inch circle, 2 lines representing the plug. That means that there's a duplex there.
Mhm.
So 2 locations, and then anything else, if it's got 3 lines, that's usually indicating that it's a 220 outlet. So ranges, welders, that sort of thing. And then if we're to mount the outlets above that 12-inch standard, they need to have a +inch on there to show how high off the floor they are. So yeah,
Okay.
there's quite a few of those little quirks. And again, a lot of people get really lazy, especially if a designer works with the same electrician. They get really lazy on it. But yeah, there should be somewhat of a standard. And if there's not a standard, then there should be a symbols key included with the drawings.
Okay.
And that's also one of those things that gets left off quite a bit. So,
And for most of those symbols, will they be located in that index that was in the plan reading?
yes,
Okay.
they should be. They really should be, because there is a little bit of especially in architect residential, there's a lot of design drift on those. Part of that's because you don't have to be a licensed architect to do a house. You just have to be skilled, and more so anything under 3,000 square feet, a high school student can do those.
Right.
So so for a lot of you contractors, that's a pretty good side gig, is housing. So, but yeah, it does get a little sloppy.
Okay. That answered my questions. That's all I have.
Let's see how Justin's doing. Justin's headed looks like the Vegas.
Nope, headed back into Salt Lake from Tremont.
Oh, well, close. Tremont, and
Um,
Vegas. It's all the same thing, right?
Yeah, yep.
If you haven't been to
Uh,
Tremont, folks,
I
you need
was
to go
on
to Tremont.
I was on yesterday, so I think all my questions were answered yesterday, and
Okay.
nothing new been brought up, but I'm good. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Let's jump down to Christy.
Hi.
Hi.
One question I have is there like a direct link to the Zoom, to this Zoom chat? 'Cause
Yeah, it's in the calendar.
It-
Let me show that to you.
I
Okay.
see to sign up, but I didn't see a link. That's why
Yep.
I was,
All right, we'll get that. Let's get that back to where we can see that. And that's another one of those favorite questions I get. Whoa, let's see. That is, not sure what I did there. Not sure what you're seeing now, actually. Whoa, let's stop that for just a minute. Shared the wrong thing, I think. So I'll share. All right, you should be seeing, hopefully, the whole Canvas page here. You can verify that.
Google.
What's that?
I'm seeing Google,
You're seeing Google?
some framing stuff.
Oh, that's not good. Wrong thing there. Probably because I'm linking on 14 different websites right now.
My other question while you're doing that was just about the mastery assignment for Rexburg. I couldn't find that like thing at all, but I
link?
think you kind of answered it earlier.
Okay, I'll pull that up too. Are you able to see the module now? The Canvas
Yeah.
course? Okay,
Yeah.
so when we go over here to the calendars,
Mhm,
and it is exactly where you sign up at.
mhm.
So I will just go and open up a random one here for the 28th.
Okay.
Maybe. Right there is the link. And it's the
Okay.
same one that's in the profile, and the syllabus, and the get to know your instructor, and the welcome email. It's all the same.
Okay.
And that's the same link. Yeah, that is the same link for every Zoom meeting, even the ones that are done one-on-one that you
Mhm.
scheduled me, and for the whole semester. So it's always the same link.
Okay, I got it from your email from the beginning of the semester, but
Yay.
I was looking forever.
Yeah, I've learned to keep it the same for everything and
Oh,
just control who comes in.
Yeah,
So
okay, I see.
yeah, it's now you've got it, you should be good.
Mhm. So then the other one was about Rexburg, like.
Yeah, the Rexburg.
I
Okay,
know
let's switch,
I could not,
find the link on that.
yeah, it says to Google this exact phrase, but it doesn't bring up anything like it.
You want to
What-
give me the exact phrase and we'll do that.
Yeah, like in the green instructions, it says to search that.
Go find the green instructions.
Mhm. It says, to find this information, perform a Google search on the city of Rexburg, table R301.2. And it should come up, but
Give me the table number again.
R301.21 in brackets.
So you should be going into the codes and standards for Rexburg City, Idaho.
Mhm.
And this is where they're all at. And let's see. And I think I'm gotta move everybody's faces here a minute. I'll put in that R201,
301.2
301.2.
and 1 in a bracket.
301.2, wasn't it?
301.2, yeah.
Search. And this brings up your meeting minutes. Why is it doing that? They have changed their website. How nice of them to do that.
Yeah. I
Oh,
don't think they're-
Brother Basket.
Yes, please.
I actually found a lot of them on the plans themselves on the very first page.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's a good place because they'll have to be referenced. Here's kind of where we're at, where this is being a little scary this semester. Usually the building codes change every 4 years. We happen to be in the middle of a change. So the 2020 building codes came out, were sent to the states and legislative bodies, which were voted on in February. And they're now getting down to the cities and counties, and they're updating their ordinances. So that is probably what we're hitting here. So I'm gonna have to see if we can get into the building department here a little better. But yeah, that's kind of what we run into. Housing planning department right here. And dig around here a little bit until we find it. It does take when they do these new ones, it does take a little bit of time to get into them. So these are residential stone standards, and we're getting closer.
Brother Basket, it's
Yeah.
under 15.1 building code, about halfway down the page.
Thank you. On the screen I've got right now. Or did I go
No,
to
if you go to chapter 5,
chapter 5? Thank you.
uh,
There we go.
then it should.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be, yeah, it's just it's a nice little search. Usually most of these will put under development and planning is where you find most of them. But it looks like they're doing a lot of update on this. Is completely different than last week. So, yeah. But yeah,
I
you just kind of go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I put the link that I used in the chat. Instead of saying chapters, mine says titles. So I mean, the
Yeah.
website looks the same,
Yeah,
but
they're
it's
they're
different.
definitely updating, and so I'll post that out to the other class as well, so we can find it. So
Yeah, I
But
got
yeah,
it. Still
that
in.
is the,
You're welcome.
yeah. Fortunately, I have to do this every 4 years, but the downside to that is we have to completely redo this course in the 1 week, or I guess we've got 6 weeks between this semester and fall. So yeah, yes, it's always fun. So, yeah. And we can't even update the course until the legislative bodies of each state has option through it. So for those of you who are not US based, when we get a building code, the International Building Code is released again, like I said, every 4 years. So we have the International Residential Code and the International Business Code. Once those have been released, each jurisdiction, so that in the United States, that'd be states first, they vote on what they want to do with that. The same would be with Canada and their provinces, and what's going on in Central and North South America, as well as parts of New Zealand. They choose what they do with that code. The code is just a recommendation. So in the states, they can choose to adopt the code as it is. They can choose to add more restrictions to the code, or they can remove things from the code. So with the residential code currently, Idaho, Utah, and most of the central states have been removing the requirement to fire sprinkler residences. So homes don't have to have fire sprinkler systems. I have not seen that yet to see if it's been put back in. California, however, has adopted that, as well as New York. So when you put a fire suppression system into a home, you're adding about 30 grand to that house, which is a lot. And then you got to deal with leaky pipes. So if you've been into most commercial buildings, if you see brown spots on the ceiling, that is usually a leaky fire suppression system. They're full of water all the time, and they eventually leak. So those are things that happen with the code. Now, because I'm recording this right now, the questions come up is, why are we using American codes? They started out in America, yes. We used to have in America 7 different building codes. They were done by regional territories and states, and some were more restrictive than others. and they were all merged together into one building code back in 1990. At that point, it became an international code, and Canada was the first to come in as a partner with that. The reason we're using that code is it is the most restrictive building code in the world. There are more requirements in that code than in any other country. And by learning that code, you'll be able to navigate the codes in your home countries much easier, as well as make recommendations to make what you're building stronger and more life safety focused. And that's really what it is. The building code is all about keeping people safe. We've had buildings collapse on people. We've had bridges collapse. We've had malls collapse. I remember 1986 so well. Debbie Gibson was in the Mall of America, and the upper mezzanine collapsed because there's too many people there screaming. So we do have things like that happen, and it happens all the time that we put too many people in a building and then they can't handle the weight. So the whole point of this is to get you used to look at what building codes are like and to see what you can do to make your own environment better and safer. And if you don't do it in your work, then do it with your home. You can always take what you learn and add to that. So that's why we're using the international code, is because the goal is that we get everybody on it. So, and it's kind of working that way. I know there's a few countries that are a little slow because they just don't have the infrastructure to do it. So thank you very much, Dylan. I got that link. I'll get that posted to everybody. Those that are watching the video in the chat, that is the link to the municipality of Rexburg. And keep in mind, Rexburg must also follow the Madison County requirements, and Madison County must follow the state of Idaho requirements. And that's kind of how those codes work. So, okay, thank you much. Okay, well, that was a fun one. Any others for you, Christy?
No, that was the basic one that
Basic.
I had.
Just a basic. You like basic. Okay, Kelly, you're up.
Okay, so I don't really have any questions about any of the assignments or anything that we've done this week, any terminology. My question really is about these labs. Like, we're required, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what if we're doing okay and we don't have any questions? We're still required to come to 2 labs per unit, right?
That would be so controlling. No, if you looked at the announcement that I put out, there are times when you're going to be at work. So especially if you're doing construction and you're behind, you have to meet that deadline. That is it. And if you're in architecture, you cannot miss a deadline. Your whole pay structure is based on meeting deadlines. So if you have to work late and you can't make it to one of these meetings, that happens. So there is 8 required participation systems in there. It basically is 2 for every unit. So if you're doing really well because your whole career is based around residential and you're here tonight because you just got to get one in because the unit ends in 2 days and you go, oh, I better do something. What I've posted is that if you will, on those weeks that you just don't want to be in Zoom anymore, go and help answer questions in those discussion boards. We have, so right now I'm probably talking to everybody that's in construction majors. Is there anybody that's not a construction major in here right now? We also have students in the class that are business majors that don't know the difference between a framing hammer and a finishing hammer. We have students coming out of Pathway that are trying to figure out the whole college thing. And you guys that have the experience in this stuff, your encouragement and your postive answers helps me immensely. And I count that as being engaged in the open office hour. So I keep track of everybody's names that post in there, whether it be they ask a question or answer a question. And the same here, I'll just write down all the names. And then next week I'll post you 25 points and we move on to the next one.
Okay.
Does that help? So yeah, I want to be as flexible as we can, but the idea is to build a community. So I'll tell you what happened last night. Last night I had a student from Ghana. He is in Rexburg. He arrived in Rexburg 3 weeks ago yesterday. Is like some of you have experienced, is struggling with the fact that the terminology is a little nuts sometimes, that He's from a country that doesn't build the way that we build in the United States, and was just very, very overwhelmed. During that meeting, another student who happens to be in Rexburg said, I'll be over in 30 minutes. They got together, and today all these assignments are caught up and turned in. That's what we do. We help each other out, and the more we can do that, the better. One of the things I learned, and so you have this group assignment that you guys have been kind of fiddling around with. What I have found is those people that you've connected with in that group assignment, if you will stay connected with them and do your assignments together and talk things through, everybody comes out ahead. There is a reason why we put you guys in groups in these online classes, which is, I know, your most favorite thing, but you learn more when you help someone else learn. That is a universal truth. And it's great if you can learn by a book and you feel that's great, and that's wonderful, but how much more can you learn by gaining an insight of what happens in Kosovo, or what happens in Bali, or what happens in Mexico City, or Trinidad, or some of these other places around the world? You have a chance to learn from a whole bunch of different societies in this class. For instance, in Kenya, there's no trees. They don't build with wood at all in Kenya. Everything's concrete and dirt. That's it. That's all they have to work with. There is no trees in Kenya. They were taken out decades ago.
Wow.
So they have a whole different style building there than we do. And that's something to really take to heart, that if you can learn something from someone else's vernacular and bring it to your work, what will that do for you? And what will that bring to your experience? So that's kind of where I feel with it. Does that help?
Yes.
Oh, good. Because, sometimes you just got to go on a date, especially now that COVID's kind of being controlled a little bit. And yeah, eat some meat. That's always good.
So you either have to, like, if you don't go to lab, you have to participate in discussion board, whether it be asking a question or answering a question.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And I had one student last week just said he just put in an inspirational quote every week, and that works. I mean, that was an easy way out, but he was making someone's day a little bit better. So I know you're probably pretty busy, because I can tell you're in the dorms, which means your social life is pretty cool. So we don't want to hurt that at all. Yeah, he's suave. We know how that is. All right, we got him down. Yeah, but does that help? Yeah. So just help someone else a little bit, because this class is gonna get really heavy, especially difficult once we get to the CSI master format and all the ways we divide out materials to be built. That is a uniquely US legal nightmare, and it's kind of fun. So. All righty, Colin, my friend, what's up?
I didn't actually have anything this week. I didn't realize I could help on the discussion board. So if I don't really have anything to bring to future Zoom calls, I'll just help out in there. That sounds good.
That works. I mean, you're being engaged in the class. That's what it's all about. Sometimes it's just fun to get here chat. We've had over the course of the years that I've taught this, we've had talks on all kinds of different situations happening in the industry. What are we doing with 3D printed housing? Everybody's all gaga over that, but how do you put rebar when you're pouring concrete out of a tube and it sets up before you put the rebar in it? What are we doing? How is that even working? So that's something that no one thinks about. You put a vertical bar and it got a tube going horizontally. The tube doesn't go around the bar. So some things like that. There's some things that sound really good on the internet, but the practicality is not always the greatest. I mean, tiny homes, that was the thing that was going to save the world. And then people lived in them, and it's like, oh, it's great if I'm single, but not with kids and dogs and wives. And So those are things that we sometimes go to as the semester goes on. But yes, you're absolutely right, Colin. You don't need to be here. I mean, you're another one that's got to get out there and make sure things are going right? Sometimes the hunt's better than the wait. All right, have I got through everybody tonight? We've lost a few. So staying the whole time is not required either. So if you get your question answered and you're done, I don't feel bad if you disappear. I know where to find you. Takes me a little bit of work and stuff, but I can eventually find you. So that works. All right, anything else now? I think we've gone through everybody's individual questions. Anything else come up in our last few minutes?
I just want to speak for everyone here. Thanks for your involvement with the class.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's
We'll
always
see.
nice to hear on Teacher Appreciation Week. Yeah, this class is, they only pay us for 10 hours for this class. It takes a lot more than that. But that's fine. I don't do it for pay. This is something I tried to get on with BYU, Idaho, Rexburg, Ricks College. I put applications in for 15 years before this one came up. So this is a blessing and a wonderful opportunities. It's great. So there's just kind of give you an idea. There's 570 online instructors for BYU Idaho. We cover courses for not only Pathway Worldwide, but also for Ensign College, BYU Idaho, and BYU Hawaii are all run through Pathway or BYU Online. It's a very, very large group of teachers. We all do this after our full-time jobs. So yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a good thing. Thank goodness we had this all worked out before COVID, because this is what made it so we could have church online, is the investment the church made in online learning. Figure that all out. Kind of weird how it all fits together. All right, if there's any personal questions, I'm open to those to a point. I am not a contractor, I'm a designer, so I have the designs point of view, but I did do construction to start out. And those either doing the architectural degree, the virtual design degree, I really highly encourage you do at least a summer worth of construction. It makes you a better designer to see how things go together, because you can look at 1,000 pictures and still not understand what's going on. So if you get out there and do some work with it, some of the virtual designs coming out with drones and stuff, drones are changing architecture right and left. If you are a fan of the Oculus from Facebook, your Revit files, once you get your model rendered out, can be put directly into the Oculus, and you can walk through the houses and buildings you design. That's trippy. It's a really cool thing to do. And you find out all kinds of things you forgot when you do that. So it's a great way to virtually design, is a good thing. So take advantage of all those type of things. That's a good process. See, do we get polls there? What other things that I encourage you with?
So I have a question. I have
Sure.
to go soon, but one last question before I go.
Sure.
So I've worked in like construction before. Like, I've done like drywall and taping, but like
Oh,
what?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
That is the worst job. That's worse than concrete. That is the worst job.
It pays
But you
really,
get really good upper body strength.
yeah, and it pays well. Like I got,
And it does
yeah,
pay well because no one wants to do it.
yeah, yeah. So I have to afford to come here. Just kidding. But when you say like get like work in construction to get like better, just like to see like how things are put together. Like I've worked in different like jobs in construction, like demolition. I'm just doing a lot of renovations. But what kind of job would you recommend being is like the most useful in that sense? Would it be like framing?
golly. You know, in your job, you see what the framing looks like when it's done. So to say the most important job is to go do framing, you've seen that. You've worked around this. You know that when someone puts a 2-inch strip where the walls overlap by about like 2 inches, and you have to cut a 2-inch strip of drywall to put in there, how much that sucks. Like that is the worst. And then you bill them $4,000 for that mistake. That's what I pick on my design students is get your walls plumbed vertically, horizontally, and on every axis. Make sure they're easy for those drywallers and work in modules. So that kind of thing that you're seeing on those weird configurations is part of that experience. So your buildings should be modular. They should, every distance should be divided by 4. So you can do a sheet of plywood, a sheet of plywood, a drywall, bricks go up, CMUs, everything's in modules of 4. That takes a lot of planning. So to say one area is better than another, that really depends on what kind of designer you want to be. If you want to be the premier masonite builder, you want to do everything on masonry, then go be a hottie for a while and then do a bricklaying. Hottie work, that's probably right up there with drywall. That is upper body torture. You're throwing bricks and mud 2-3 stories up. That's tough work. My thing with design, I would love to have masons that can make a round tower out of square bricks. That's getting really hard to find in the United States. Most of our bricklayers, they don't do well at making square things round because they just don't want to take the time. So if I want a fancy brickwork, I'll get someone out of Mexico to do it. They just do better. They're better craftsmen than what's in the United States. So to say one aspect's better than another, you can't, because if you're just doing site prep, you're still seeing everything that's going on to get to that point, and that's all experience. So just being observant when you're on the site and see what's going on, that's what it's all about. And for an architect student, if they can do a year of flat work and do masonry, that's great. If they can do a summer of framing, great. It's that they've seen what problems can exist by not thinking it through. That's what's really important.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
So on that drywall, I'm
That's
pretty
about
picky
it.
on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I did some drywall, but most of my just growing up, I did more like taping.
Mhm.
So like I did work in residential homes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I make every building I do, I make them do 3 or 4 levels of feathering. They have to feather it out 4 levels on their tape. And if I see it telegraphed through paint, we redo the wall. I really, that's my biggest pet peeve. The chapel that we attend every Sunday, you can see every tape joint in that wall, and it drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, the way I would do it is like the hardest way, like the more. So some people do like patching, but what I would do is like the everything, like all the layers and like pre-fill.
Yeah, that's really the best way to do it, but you
That's
pay
how we
more
do
for it. It does cost more.
We also
I
get paid more for it though. So
Yeah, and on my specs, I don't allow drywall nails. It has to be drywall screws. I let them do nails to tack it in place, but then it's got to be screwed in.
Nice. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, you can get pretty picky. Yeah, but you know, it work. It's honest work and it's good pay. So
Yes, sir. Well,
that's
thank
all that
you.
matters. You bet. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Yep. Hey, Taryn, you got another question for me? You're good. All righty.
Just listening. I like to make sure if there's anything else that
Absolutely.
catches up. So
Yeah, I get that. So I'm gonna put together a visual library, I guess. Dictionary. All right, so have a good night then, and take care. I'm assuming you got kids, or is that a gift on the bed there?
no, that's my wife from Valentine's Day. So
Oh, good.
no kids yet.
No kids yet. Well, enjoy the time.
Well, thank
It's
you.
good.
Have a good night then.
You too. Take care.